What is going on, my Masketeers? Welcome to the Masquerade. And in today's episode, we are talking about the newly released, highly anticipated Marvel Spider-Man No Way Home, starring Tom Holland, Zendaya, William Dafoe, Jamie Foxx, and a whole bunch of other people. Without trying to get into spoilers, we will get into them in a second. But how did I feel about this movie? We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the great. So, just based off that alone, you can already see where I stand. Now, me, I am a massive Spider-Man fan. I was brought into Spider-Man from the 90s cartoon, which to me is the definitive Spider-Man, the best version of Spider-Man I have ever seen. Now, we can move and deviate a little bit and say Into the Spider-Verse, technically for me, is still one of the best Spider-Man movies. Like, it has to be top three Spider-Man movies. But the show for me is the best Spider-Man. Actually, even Into the Spider-Verse, that version of Peter was kind of up there. But we digress. Let's talk about No Way Home. Now, the premise of No Way Home is quite simple. It is literally after the events of Far From Home, where Mysterio revealed Peter's identity to the general public. Things have kind of taken a crazy turn for him and Mary Jane. The world knowing who he is and the world actually believing that he killed Mysterio, things haven't kind of gone his way. And because of that, it makes him essentially go to Doctor Strange, played by Benedict Cumberbatch, do a spell that would allow the world to forget that Spider-Man and Peter Parker are one and the same. So, Strange, being an agent of chaos that he is, decides to do the spell. But Peter keeps on trying to add extra bits to it, trying to twist it up a little bit, add some more sauce. Unfortunately, it goes wrong. What happens is they literally just break space and time, essentially, or the multiverse. And everyone from different universes are now being pulled in. That is literally the premise of it. And without giving too much away, the film itself, I feel, is the best entry for the MCU Spider-Man. I feel like this one is, dare I say, just in general, as Marvel films, for me, it's definitely in the top five. And I feel the reason why is because you've gone on this journey, you've gone on this arc, but I feel like every movie has pushed Peter to a darker and darker place. But this one I feel is literally like the magnum opus of the MCU Spider-Man in terms of the arc that he goes on, in terms of the relationships, and also, most importantly, in terms of just the general feel and tone of this movie. I think is just amazing. The one that stood out the most, the MVP of this whole movie, is William Dafoe, aka Norman Osborn, aka Green Goblin, aka the bipolar maniac. This man stole the show. Doc Ock was good as well. He did what he had to do. William Dafoe is William the Goat. From the word jump is on site, and I respect him. He don't even know this Peter Parker on a personal level, but he knows that he don't like no Peter Parkers. Point blank, period. And he's on him. And I feel he is definitely like the most menacing villain that the MCU has had in a very long time. Thanos is up there, but when I talk about like a villain where, yo, this guy, he's just out to watch the world burn, Joker vibes, Green Goblin in this movie, definitely 100%. And I just love the energy which he brought. I love the feel and the tone in which they decided like to take this movie in. Without going too deep into it, the one thing which I will say is like they subverted a lot of expectations. Because the one thing that we never really saw in this movie is Uncle Ben, or in the franchise, should I say? Because already we find him as Spider-Man, so he kind of doesn't have that with great power comes great responsibility arc in terms of where the loss of Uncle Ben that spurs him on. We've never really seen Uncle Ben in this kind of in this version of him, and we've just kind of assumed that Uncle Ben happened and he gave him the talk and he died like in all the other versions. But apparently, not so much. Uncle Ben just died essentially. That's what I took away from it. But they found a way to give him that great power comes great responsibility moment, and they did it in such a good way. Now, this is where we get into spoilers a little bit. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, the other Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. And I have to respect them because they didn't even do like a big build up and they made it a spectacle. They just came through just like regular men. And can I say this? This is what I always felt. I always felt that Andrew was probably like the best pick for Spider-Man because, in my opinion, live action, Andrew's been the best Spider-Man. Not the best Peter Parker, but the best Spider-Man, in my opinion, live action. And to see him work here, it only proves that to me. And man, can he act. That's one thing I would definitely say about this film. In this film, everybody did an amazing job. They did an amazing job of blending all these three characters together, but it's still feeling like it is Tom Holland's movie. Like he is the Spider-Man. He never felt overshadowed. But my goodness, did Andrew just steal every scene that he was in for me. I thought that Andrew was amazing. And one thing which I always thought was so weird in his version of movies was with the death of Gwen Stacy, right? When she died, to be honest with you, because they never knew that they were going to just cancel the whole series and like, there weren't going to be any more movies after the second one. So the way they ended the second one with Gwen Stacy's death, that would have been the perfect time for him to stop being Spider-Man. And you kind of leave on a cliffhanger, like will he pick up the mantle? But because it's a third movie, you know that he will. But then you never get the third movie kind of thing. But they kind of just said, nah, listen, the love of his life died, and she died because of him, even after her dad that died told him, do not let her be involved with you because it's going to cost her life. Like, you're going to put her in danger. He disobeyed that, and because of that, she died. I thought that that would have been the perfect way to end the Amazing Spider-Man 2. But that's not what happens. Literally, he stops being Spider-Man, or like he's sad for a little bit and he just becomes Spider-Man again at the end of it. And it's just like the emotional arc was missing. In this movie, they addressed that whole thing. Because in this movie, Andrew is like the middle-aged Peter. He still believes in being Spider-Man, but he's bitter and he's angry because of what Spider-Man has cost him. And there were so many amazing moments where you felt that emotion come off him. And like there's a moment where Mary Jane, or MJ, because she's not Mary Jane, falls off the building like in the final fight. Tom Holland Spider-Man tries to catch her, but he doesn't catch her because Green Goblin knocks him away. And so Andrew Garfield catches her. He's basically able to save the girl this time. And when he lands, he's so emotional because of what that moment means to him. Like he's on the verge of crying. Even so much so that when he asks MJ, are you okay? She looks at him and like he's got tears in his eyes and she says, are you okay? And he's like, yeah. And for me, that was just amazing. Like amazing. The whole movie, everything from start to finish, I loved it. I thought the pacing was great. I didn't even think it was as long as it was because like it's about 2 hours and 20 minutes. I honestly didn't think it was that long. So that's only testament to how well the movie is. But all in all, yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. A couple of characters were just kind of you know. Jamie Foxx was like the comic relief, and he had a couple of good moments. I can't lie about that, but I didn't really care for him. Sandman, no one cares about Sandman. Yeah, he was just really there, to be honest with you. So yeah, Sandman, no one really. He didn't really do it for me. The Lizard, I was just like, I don't even know why he was there. He was just but is what it is, I guess. And then who else? Who else kind of? Yeah, like there was like a whole bunch of people. To be honest with you, there's a whole bunch of people, but they were just kind of filler. They did what they needed to do, essentially. In terms of how they wrapped up everything, for me, I felt like this was like the perfect end to the actual trilogy of Spider-Man. Marvel and Sony weren't able to come like to a new agreement. The way they wrapped up this film was perfect. Like if you never got another Spider-Man from the MCU, the way this trilogy ended to me was done amazing. Whereas if now Sony and Marvel were able to come to an arrangement, they have enough to kind of go in a new direction and really push Spider-Man to a couple of places that I feel he's now ready to go down. But yeah, overall, I like this film. My verdict for it, I would definitely I'll give it a 9 out of 10. Um, yeah, those are my thoughts, those are my opinions. Let me know what you thought. Sound off in the comment section and give me your verdict on the film itself. So, guys, please like, comment, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend, and I will catch you next time. Peace.